Hello everybody, welcome back. Today we're playing some more chess, obviously, and we're going to play a slower time control. We want to play the big uh, classical arena tournaments, so we're going to play at that time control. Try to increase the size of the board a little bit. Yeah, that looks fine. All right. Okay, here we are. We're comfortable now. They're playing a London system, so the only thing I play against the London system that I'm really comfortable with is the Queen's Indian, um, which goes knight f6, e6, and b6. I also call it the turtle. I call it the turtle. Um, just a better, cooler name for it, in my humble opinion. So it's just, we're going to put our bishop on the long diagonal here. And we have this little setup. So the idea is basically we're going to slowly expand kind of like this, and then we're just going to have this sort of turtle setup. We could even do this immediately, but right now we can, but there's no real point to it, because we have two attackers on e4, and they only have one defender. So I'm probably going to, if I go c5, it goes c3 probably, which is fine. d5, bishop d6. Not too, see, a lot of London players, they put all their pieces kind of lazily on the squares, and then they don't know what to do next. Which is an okay way to play, I guess. I didn't technically have to play d5 right away. I could have started knight c6, but I just like gaining the central control here. I could be burned here, bishop b5, knight here, and then knight here, in which case I play bishop e7 and then castle. But knights before bishops, right? Something like that. Also, I don't want to put my knight on c6 because it's going to hinder my bishop. Okay, he puts his bishop on e2, which is kind of a bit passive, but it is not the end of all things. Okay, bishop here, bishop back, and then we can't put our knight here anymore. We could even play knight h5 if we want to. That is a possibility. But we're already kind of behind, a little behind in development, so because we made more pawn moves, we made an extra pawn move, and they didn't. This is normally not so good, to give up your good bishop. Now, black now has an active queen, and I'm going to press e5 very soon after I castle kingside. I will play knight here because I don't want this knight coming in. Gotta anticipate your opponent's things. So yeah, he's playing kind of how I predicted he would play. A lot of London system players, they'll put all their pieces on the right squares and they'll do it kind of in this lazy fashion. Um, without a real motive or plan. Alright, here's slashing out. It's in the center. Alright, I'm just going to castle probably. I do want to play 94 because this is an extension, because this pawn acts as an extension of this bishop, but before I do so, I will castle. You don't want to make any central pawn moves or central moves until get your king safe. So yeah, always solve for king safety first. My opponent's pieces are a bit lackluster at the moment. I would say I'm slightly better, though there is still a lot of game to be played. Basically, my queen better than opponent's queen. I have this knight is equal, this knight is equal, this bishop is better than this guy. Both kings are castled. This rook is out of play like this rook, but a lot of things remain to be seen. If I play like this, then e4 is happening. If I play like this, then this is happening, and then I have two hanging pawns. If I play like this, though, I lose a tempo. And if I play like this, that might be the best option to capture. Because even if he plays here, I'm probably just going to go back to b7 and then regroup. So I think even here I could lose a tempo, but it's probably not so bad. Queen c6, and then I can just hop in knight e4, knight here, or even f6, e5. Yeah, this is the best way, regardless. If he plays here, I'm going to play knight c5, and then we can have ultimate control of e4 from c5. I kind of want to look at this guy's profile just for fun, you know. Quite a few games. 610 games. That's pretty good. Names himself after a Lord of the Rings character. And yeah, he's pretty low rated in pretty much all forms of chess, but we'll see. We'll see. Remains to be seen. He's playing pretty well so far. A little lack of energy, but nothing too catastrophic on White's part. And that's kind of one of the benefits of the London system is, you know, you're not going to be catastrophically lost after a sharp line. It's more kind of maneuvering, almost, in my experience. But there will be a fight on the board later. After I think the best move for my opponent is just knight c4. After knight c4, I have queen c6, I have queen c7, and I have queen e7. After queen c6, I'm just keeping more and more control. Oh, yeah, he has knight c to e5. Yeah, maybe I do have to trade. That sucks. Then that trade though, it feels kind of gross. Um, hmm. Yeah, he found the best move, as I knew he would. Okay, where to put the queen? Yeah, I don't want to trade here because I lose control of my color complex, and white has a light squared bishop, so I would be losing control of all of my light squares if I did that. If I play back, rook c1, ugh, things aren't. Yeah, my queen's going to be a target on the c file. I think this is the best move. If he plays knight c to e5, I have knight e4 and f6, and I can kind of whittle this guy off of e5. So may not be too terrible. I just have to make sure I don't capture here because he just captures back, and then f4 will create a big grip on e5, and then I'm just losing control of my squares. Okay, so my plan is now knight e4 f6. Let's see if there's anything wrong with that. Knight here. What would my opponent do? He might just trade and then trade capture or bishop d3. Um, Perhaps I would then play h6 or rook d8. If rook d8, queen or rook queen c2, then I just play back knight. No, I can't. Here. Yeah, in that case, I would just play knight back to f6. It's not a big deal. Um, could even play g6 there, as white lacks um, dark squared presence. And if he captures, I might just capture this way. Or even just capture this way. See what he does next. My main plan is now just f6, rook c8, f6. Though there is an argument that I probably should have played rook c8 and rook d8 first, but it might be a bit too slow because this plan is coming very quickly, and I just don't have time to do all that. Um, hmm. What else? What else here? Oh, queen c2. Yeah, he wants to play bishop d3 and then threaten my knight and my h7 pawn. Thinking about rook c8 here. just to get my rook on the same file as this queen, so that the queen is a bit uncomfortable, and I have a threat. So developing with threats is usually really good. I have a much bigger threat than bishop d3 takes here, so he might play bishop here, but then I just rook c7, and I'm not really that worried. Oh, and then bishop d3 back. Well, that kind of sucks, because then I can't play this because my rook is now hanging. Ugh. That's a wrench in my plans I did not expect. Oh well. Well, if he does this, worst case scenario, I just play rook c7 back, and then knight f6, and just regroup. I might have to allow this plan. Now he does have a threat. Yeah, I am definitely capturing that. Now, it's after knight takes, I'll just play f6. And my queen is defending a7 here. Well, white was uncomfortable enough with this rook being on this file that he kind of moved his queen away from it. But yeah, I would have been quite impressed if he found this move, or found that plan rather. I didn't expect him to find that plan. Okay, white has two captures here. He could take with a pawn or with the knight. I think the pawn is a bit better because it opens the file. However, nothing is really stopping him from taking with the horse. I'm not really inclined to move my f-pawn anymore. Because it kind of jeopardizes my king safety. And he's threatening f3 and e4, which aren't very nice. I am drinking lots of water. It's summertime. I gotta stay hydrated, you know. I'm more inclined to play back, but I can't really stop this. Okay, does white have a threat, first of all? Maybe... I don't see a threat. Unless you count this as a threat, then no. I was going to play rook d8, f3, cap back, e4, bishop a8, capture, capture. I was going to play like this, and then white has a bad bishop, but I'm really not sure. I think I need to start taking the fight to my opponent here. Let's open a file. Just activate our rooks. I even free the c5 square for my knight potentially. If he takes back with his pawn, that gives him an isolated pawn, and I'm blocking the square in front of it, so it's effectively blockaded. Um, even the queen, even the recapture with the queen is not so nice either, just because I'd feel very uncomfortable if I was white, if I saw a black rook on d8 with my queen on an open file like that. Very, very uncomfortable indeed. And then I would have to spend more tempo to move it away. I think she should capture with the pawn, even though I think it's a bit inferior due to the pawn structure imbalance that you're creating. But then I was going to do, after this, knight d2, rook here. I was going to play queen g5, which creates a threat on g2. I think that's a double. Yeah, it's a double threat, because now I have a threat on g2 and I have a threat on e5. And he can't really take this as queen g2 is mate. Knight f3 would be catastrophic as well, because knight takes f3, e takes, and then or bishop takes and bishop takes, and we take advantage of the pin on the g file. Yeah, yeah. So that's kind of where I'm gonna go. Actually, there is no threat on the knight here because there's a pawn there. Oh, okay, never mind. There is no threat. Threats are non-existent. Okay, never mind. I just didn't quite see I don't know why I didn't see the d4 pawn there. Anyway, I don't think I have anything too concrete. I think I just need to improve my pieces now. I could make some bold claims about my minor pieces. And I could make some claims that I'm going to be gaining some tempi by removing the knight from the advanced post. But all in all, yeah, okay, this is my worst piece. I guess we just bring it into the game. We can play f6 anytime. If he plays f3, I'm not too worried about that. Okay, yeah, let's just play. I'm not really quite too sure what to do. I don't think I have a real mating attack here. I think it's easily defended by like f3. Yeah, I don't think I have too much there. I'm just going to bring my pieces to the center, and then I'm just going to do my best. Oh, I have a dirty kind of vision here. Knight d2, rook here, here, and then g3. I would sacrifice my queen, capture knight f3 here, but then I don't have another double check. I don't think. Yeah, after here, f3. Okay, never mind. I don't have anything there. I thought I had something really cool, but I don't. I don't have anything cool. This is a not cool game. If I play queen g5 now, knight f3. Yeah, that kind of puts a stop to my ideas there. Alright, I want to improve my queen. This guy's gonna fall. I want to put it here. However, there is a knight here. And that's not cool. There's a knight in my way. Yeah. I think that this is the idea that my opponent is thinking about. If I play f6 and then force, oh yeah, this is a threat, damn. And then I'd have to capture, and then I'd have to move this somewhere. Queen c7. And then probably f6. Yeah, and then he can't put his rook on this file because of the back rank threats. Okay. Or do we just play queen d6 so that we don't get in trouble with knight c6, bishop takes, and then rook c1 right after? Yeah, we could get in trouble there. Okay, we'll play queen d6 instead. Let's play. We're gonna play a little more accurately. We got to at this point, and we're gonna try to gang up on this. This little pawn here, which is kind of the crux of white's position. Kind of I am losing a pawn on a7. And then white has another threat. In that case, yeah, I'm not sure why I played this move. I think I was just worried about the resulting pin, and then I didn't quite really respect this threat. So okay, we have to live in the here and now. So we got to, after here, we can play rook c7, queen back. So we have a move, f6, knight f3. Or f6, queen f7, king here, knight f3. In that case, I think I just play rook c7, queen h5. Interesting. I think he still wants to play this. If I just encourage him, would that be so bad? Capture, capture, and then I just capture this way. And that's not so bad. But I do have to be wary of this horsey. That is now a little bit of trouble. Okay, I think we just invite him in. I think. I don't know, knight here, here, capture, rook, queen f2 here. I don't have a checkmate there, unfortunately. Yeah, c6 is a real issue. I have a feeling I'll have to play a5 now and just try not to lose. was also thinking. I don't know. I don't think much anymore. Hmm. Maybe I should have been a little more aggressive on the king side. I could even play f6, knight here, rook back. No, doesn't really do much either. Alright, we're going to play here and then try not to lose. It's kind of my option. It's kind of my option now. It's really my only option now is try not to lose. Knight c6 as expected. Okay. I do not have to give up my bishop immediately. I can just move my rook. I do have a choice. But I think it might be more advantageous to give up my bishop anyway. Let's try to calculate queen f4 just to make sure I don't have a checkmate anywhere. Oh, I do have a checkmate. Knight g3. H takes. And then... Heck yeah, heck yeah. This is why you keep your options open. And there's even a smothered mate opportunity there. If I can play my cards right. Okay, let's try here, here. That kind of stops my threat. And then I'll probably play like this. Knight here. And then I'll trade and then take this pawn. Okay. I'm sold. I am what is called sold. Yeah, I do see a clear mate if he allows me to checkmate here. So, or if he allows me to check here. I'm sacrificing my rook for this beautiful, beautiful checkmate. Good move. Oh, I can't play this knight c5 now. Now I probably have to try to capture this knight. I don't really have any threats here, which is kind of suck. But he has a threat against me, which is also suck. He had 97. I think I have to just capture. Ugh. Not how I envisioned this going, but you know, can't have everything, right? Okay. Nope, can't play this. He has this. And I don't have my extra mating piece anymore. So now, what to do? I think I just gang up on this guy. Or try, and then... try to make use of my horse. Yeah, He saw right through my mate though, so I commend him for that. Playing pretty well. Plays a lot better than, my usual opponents. Which is good. Which is good. I don't think I'm getting like worse at chess as the time goes by, but I do think people are getting a lot better um, than they used to. People are studying more, practicing, and just, you know, just overall. I don't think I'm actually any worse at chess than I used to. Can I just take with my queen and just make a simpler ending? I could. Not that. I do want to just kind of preserve my chances though. And I want to try to get to this and try to get this guy to move. Yeah. Let's do this. Capture a piece with a threat. Good thing is my most active pieces are on dark squares. So, good for me. And I have a tempo against this queen. So the queen has to move first, probably. I do gotta be aware of back rank threats. So probably h6 or g6 would be. Oh, wait a second. Oh, I have a nasty tactic here. Okay, I'll have to walk you through this one. Um, Queen takes, sacrifice, capture, capture. This is a forced move because it's a check, so he has to do something about the check. So white captures, black captures, white captures, black captures, check, bishop d1, bishop or rook d1, checkmate. That's nasty. Yeah, this is fatal. Yeah, okay, so we're gonna check capture here, here, here. Block, checkmate. So let's do it. Yeah, this is nasty. This is so gross. I just washed my hands too. I think I'll have to wash them again after this game. So yeah, real nasty tactic. Really, really, oof. Yeah, I knew he would slip up eventually. I just didn't know when. Yeah. This is a dark square. This is a light square. So this bishop can never. Yeah. So good game, Senor Legolas. Yeah, I was a little worried this game. But we ended up pulling through. Let's get our. Oof, we need the size to be a um little smaller. Okay, there we go. So this was pretty sick game. He played really well. Um, so for the opening, we'll have the database up. I have all of the games. Whoops, my bad. I have I have all of the ratings. So yeah, this is how I'd like to play. Just Queen's Indian against the London system. Also call it the turtle. But it kind of morphed into like a Queen's Gambit position, which I'm pretty experienced in. Um, yeah, Bishop E7 is more the accepted theory. Though C5 a bit more combative, and then D5. And now I was kind of expecting Bishop B5 check, Knight D7. This would not be so good as suddenly this is coming. We have to defend with Rook C8, and White just has a lot of initiative here. And we're actually toast here. Pretty sure we're just toast. So we're gonna steer away from that line. So to combat this, we would play Knight BD7, Knight E5, Bishop E7, or A6 would also work. I think A6 is probably better. Just to break the pin immediately. Capture, capture, Knight DF3, Bishop E7, and yeah, this is more reminiscent of a Queen's Gambit than a London system. Basically, with the London system, you're trying to get in this move E4. Basically, if you can play E4, you're never worse as White. And so I did everything in my power to prevent E4. So this is how I kind of combat it. Knight here. Notice that there's 2 attackers on E4 and only 1 defender. I played a little more aggressive. You can also play something like D6. After Bishop D3, you can play Knight D7, BD7 after castle. Then you can play Bishop E7, Rook here, and then like C5. You can play like in this very slow fashion, if you want. Though do be careful of E4. So C5, C3, yeah, a lot of, as I mentioned earlier, a lot of players just like to play this way, and they just kind of automatically put their places, and then they don't know what to do after they put all their pieces on the squares that they're supposed to. So they get a little confused, and then things don't work out, and yeah. D5, Bishop E2, little worse than Bishop E3. Bishop here for sure is the correct idea. Here would probably here, and then probably Knight C6 now, since there's no real threat now on this diagonal. Oops, anymore. Kind of messed that one up. So yeah, there's no threat on this this diagonal anymore. So Knight C6 is perfectly appropriate here. Bishop E2, Bishop there. Yeah, this is a bit of a mistake when playing the London system, which tells me he hasn't really delved into this position too much. He just kind of automatically puts his pieces places and then captures things, and then he does what he wants, which you can get away with that up to a certain point. But the idea is to actually put keep the tension between these dark squared bishops, and then if black ever decides, hey, I want to challenge this, then he plays this, and suddenly black has a knight on the rim, which isn't as good anymore, which allows him to play knight e5, attacking this bishop and keeping and putting the knight directly into the center. So that's kind of the theory behind bishop g3. Oh, sorry, bishop d6, queen d6. Now I just have, my pieces are slightly better. I want to castle before I do anything in the center. Capture. Yeah, ed5 is probably the more accepted theory, and then white plays against these hanging pawns. Hanging pawns it just means a group of two with no support from other pawns. That's all that hanging pawns means. It doesn't mean that they are hanging, it just means they're unsupported by additional pawns. I'm not really sure why they're called that, but here we are. I actually decided that bishop d5 was better, just to completely prevent e4. And yeah, I don't think the engine will agree with me here. Oh, it says it's perfectly even, though huh, that's interesting. Okay. But the win-loss record for this is like really bad. For black, even though it shouldn't be, even though it's a perfectly even position, which means that overall white is outplaying black in this very even position. But it's a very small sample size of 61 games. So take it with a grain of salt. I don't really want to bring this up anymore because the number of games that it has now is not enough to matter anymore. Knight c4, queen e7. Yeah, I was uncomfortable with putting my guy here because rook c1. Yeah, this is a little uncomfortable for me. I think you can get away with it. I just didn't like it. 94 here, and like my first thought was just to play f6 capture, but then we have this, and then I was going to play this, but then I'm using like an extra tempo to get to a square I could have gone to in one move. And I didn't want to be playing f6 because it compromises my king safety slightly, and I just didn't want to. I was not interested in moving these pawns unless I absolutely had to do it. Rook c8. He felt uncomfortable enough to move his queen, but I thought he should have played this first and then this. And in that case, I can no longer take his knight out of the equation anymore. So, or maybe, actually, never mind. No, wait, this rook is hanging. This is why he can play this. That's right. Yeah, I have to now play back, guard my king, which allows. Actually, it's kind of hard to play for white here. Because of this idea. Actually, no, he doesn't have that. I just. Okay. Maybe rook e1 just to play e4. And then capture. Yeah, then e4 is coming here. We could play something like c4, but then this guy becomes a bit of a target. Maybe something like this, but or even knight e4 immediately again. But I think I would rather play rook c8 and just shove my pawns up the c file. Actually, never mind. Wait. My guy is not being defended. Oh gosh, never mind, never mind. I can't do that. Um, ooh, that's a problem because of the brother. Okay, 95 is bad. Okay. Then maybe I do have to play this and then make this a threat. Queen here, and then after that I would just play back. And then, or even, yeah, I was thinking about capturing and then there, yeah. Okay, cool. Yeah, very complicated. Yeah, position is complicated after queen or bishop a6. Very interesting play. I just didn't know what else to do, so I just improved my rook. Though I kind of underestimated how weak c6 square was until it was a bit too late. Um, yeah, he could have actually captured here and there was a threat here. However, I think I had something lined up for this. I was gonna do this just to gain the extra. I was gonna give up the pawn for a tempo, and then do something like this, and then try to, or two tempi rather, and then I get a third tempi like this, and then I would have compensation for the pawn because I'm just gaining so much time on my opponent. So this was my idea. It's a bit abstract if you're not well versed in positional themes, but the idea was to gain so many moves on my opponent that I was going to give up. I was going to give up material just to take a lot of moves away from my opponent. That was the idea. So in this instance, I would take 4 tempi away from my opponent. Now has to move 4 times to run away from me, which means I have initiative. And then I would think of other things to do, and from this position, yeah. So I was fairly comfortable there, even though I'm down material. So he played knight c6, and then I have a really nasty threat. If he plays this, I not only have this, which is a lot simpler than the game, but I also have this nasty threat as well. So I only saw the more complicated one. I actually didn't quite. I didn't actually even see. I didn't even look at it. I just saw that I had a really nice mate in 3. So now I just capture, and I was then I had no choice but to kind of reposition my pieces and see what happened. And I was going to capture this weak pawn and then do stuff. Rook c1, capture, defend. So the difference between this move and this move is that this move, there's fewer resources on the board for me to try to exploit. So I was trying to keep the position a little complicated so that I could then I was trying to keep the position a bit more complicated so then I could so then I'd have more resources to use. But this was the correct approach, as my opponent then slipped up and I got a nasty tactic from it, which is awesome. My opponent resigned here, but in case you guys didn't see it, this would be checkmate. And yeah, my opponent resigned uh, here. So that was a good game. That was a really good game. Um, I'm just kind of curious what the computer thought about it. Yeah, pretty even, very even, Slight advantage, black now. 95, 95. And it says that f6 is much superior. As you have the opportunity to play c4 now and just restrict your opponent's pieces. So that's pretty cool. CD, CD, rook d8. Yeah, queen d4 was the better choice. Rook d8. Actually, yeah, rook f d8, and then yeah, white's a little scary here. So take, okay, rook c1 or rook d8, bishop b5. Yeah, I kind of threw the game a little here. Apparently knight d2. A little. It does gain a tempo. Oh, it's telling. This was actually my original plan. Oh. Wow, I didn't even. Okay. Okay, and then it wants me to play. Yeah. Wow. Oh, wow. Okay. Yeah, this was the right idea. Oh. Okay. Good to know. Yeah, I didn't really think this was gonna go anywhere because it's easily defended, but it ended up being the right idea because my pieces are just better. I thought I had a double threat, but then I saw, oh, there's a pawn here. So there's no real point. So after g3 we play f6 and then get rid of this knight. So f4, queen f5. Ooh. It's really, yeah, it's really trying. This is really complicated. Knight c4. Yeah, I don't want to dig too deep into this. Okay. That was, I didn't go into it because that was, I also saw that was going to be really complicated. Capture, capture, and I'm slightly better here, so I just took this safer route, and now yeah, here I decided just to keep my resources on the board, and then he walked into a tactic, queen c1, rook c1, rook a4, and he resigned. So very, very cool. So if you like the content, please consider liking and subscribing. I'll be doing quite a more classical games throughout the week. So I'll see you next time.